Okay, I pressed the thing.
All right. Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to the Trying to Be Better with Joel and Steve podcast. I'm Joel.
I'm Steve.
And this is technically, I guess, our first official episode aside from the intro episode, right?
Well, yeah, I was wondering, like, is this gonna be our sophomore slump?
It very well could be.
But if we're calling this our first actual episode, then that'll be the next one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the introduction, you know, like the first one was.
That was the pilot.
That was the pilot. And we all know that those are a little wonky. So this is our real big splash.
So just so everybody has high expectations, like this is going to be so smooth.
Yes, please.
Like a Swiss watch.
Yeah. Set your expectations as high as they go. And then you can live in the disappointment with all of us.
There you go.
Especially with today's topic, which I think we're going to get into eventually. We're going to address the elephant in the room and the fact that we're all living through a global pandemic and all the things that go along with that, I guess, right?
Is that timely?
Well, here's the thing. This podcast hopefully will be around a while, and this will be we'll just get that's what I'm saying. We just get this out of the way. Let's talk about.
That's a good idea. Let's
talk about this and then clear the air, and
then we can talk about other things.
Yeah, then we can get into other things. I think re-listening to our last episode to make sure it even happened, I realized that just in that episode, ideas and people to talk to came up. So I want to get into that, but I feel like
I gotta say I'm super excited about things that we sort of have planned.
Yeah,
in a very nebulous, loose way. Like we got people to talk to and things to talk about, and like I'm actually genuinely really excited about this.
Yes. And a lot of that is because they're people that we know are doing cool and interesting things.
Yep.
That the thing I said last time is that I want to be able to explore those topics with people I love and care about that isn't just centered around the stuff we normally talk about, that this kind of occupies some other, space and time with them, and we get to pick their brains a little bit more. So yes, I'm excited for those interviews. I'm excited for other topics that you and I will dive into. So yeah, but I another thing we should say is that thank you all
100%.
For listening. Yeah,
amazing.
We've got upwards 85, 90 people listening, and
tonight. Yeah, it's amazing.
States all over the country, and we have a listener out in the Netherlands, whom I think I know who it is, but I'm not sure. So we're international, man.
I love it.
So also along those housekeeping lines, we are on we're on what platforms? We're on
Apple's podcasts and Spotify and Stitcher.
Yes.
And soon, hopefully, Google Podcasts and iHeartRadio.
Love it. So those are, whatever your favorite way to, do the things, listen to the podcast, please, do that. If you're, and I primarily listen to my podcast through either Spotify or Apple. So if you're an Apple subscriber, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and hit
that like button and the subscribe and the
Is that what the YouTubers hit?
I don't know. We're not doing this on YouTube.
That's true. That's good. I like that it's just our voices, because I don't want to always be camera ready for you, Steve.
Oh my God.
So if you're listening to us on Apple, give us a subscribe and give us some stars. Write a poem for us in the comments.
That'd be great.
Yeah, just to bump those numbers.
Would be really nice.
Yeah, because we want to eventually drive mid 80s Ferraris because of this podcast.
I like the 4-door Mercedes diesels. I'm weird like that. Like give me a 300D with a 4-speed manual transmission, and
that's
in
you,
heaven.
Baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I want one of those new Ford Broncos. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think we've got the housekeeping out of the way. Oh, before we get into the topic, we have our first piece of fan art. We recorded our first episode. Was that Monday night?
I think it was Monday.
It's
like
Thursday.
4 days ago. Yeah.
It's Thursday now, and we already have fan art. So we have a dear listener whom I love dearly, and he is a genius at making and editing videos out of nowhere. His name is Matt, and so Matt could not get over how much your laugh sounds like Jeff Bridges' laugh, right?
Okay.
I want to play this for you.
Okay.
And I also want to the any of our listeners to pipe in. So I'm going to put this up on our Instagram page, which I started. It's out there. But what is it? What's the handle at
trying to be better? I don't know. You made it.
Yeah, trying to be better podcast.
There we go.
Yeah, it's all one big handle. So I'm going to put this video after we put this episode in the bag, but I really want to play you and all our listeners this video, and you be the judge, right?
Okay.
Okay, are we ready for it?
Yeah, hit me.
I believe that first one
was me.
I think that was you. All right, here we come. So
that was Jeff.
All right, I'm gonna back that up.
Yeah, you gotta make it louder, maybe.
All right.
Can you turn up the volume or something?
I'm trying. All right, here we go.
Put the microphone by the speaker or something.
Okay.
This is high.
Steve
missed it. Jeff Bridges. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there another one? That was me.
Yeah. So it's that last one though. Last one, I think I don't know if you're gonna have to take some mood altering chemicals to get that sort of lazy version.
Yeah.
Let me play that again.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Matt, you're a genius. You're a genius,
Matt.
Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you for our first piece of fan art. That's amazing.
You're amazing. We as of right now, everybody, Matt is our favorite listener.
That's true.
He's our favorite.
100%.
And if we make those toot your hooter mugs and t-shirts, you might be getting something for free from the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve.
We're just dangling the carrot out there.
So the challenge next is who's going to get the tattoo of Toot Your Hooter. And you can send it to the Instagram account.
I'm just saying, Joel's throwing that out there. If you want to wait till there's a few more episodes in the can, that might not be the worst idea. It's like the guy that got the Microsoft Zune tattoo.
Well,
just
remember the Zune?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. People like to get tattoos for whatever. They don't even care.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying if it was my body and I'm one of the ones on the mic here, I'd probably give it a few.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I think that everybody has agency over their own body, Steve.
I agree.
That if they want to put Toot Your Hooter on their forearm, that's fine. I think that's great. I think that'd be great. I think that's great for the pod.
Sure.
So I
you do you. And I mean, you Joel, and you listener.
Anyway, do you. Thanks for the fan art, Matt. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's been happening? Today? Okay. So one of the topics that we discussed in our Google Doc, and I just put this out there because I think that it's time. Obviously it's timely. Also, I think that in March and April, if somebody would have asked me to get on a microphone and talk about the pandemic, I don't think I would have been able to do that. And I think that really shows kind of how jarring it was and still is.
Yes.
We're going to try not to get too in the weed. I am not, like, this full disclosure, I am not a scientist. I am not an epidemiologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a politician. I'm none of those things. I'm a theater artist, but we're all globally experiencing a pretty intense moment in human history. And we're looking at other countries and they're all experiencing it, or they experienced it first. And we are sort of in a special flavor of nightmare here in the United States. And that's my opinion. But
Joel, we can still go to Olive Garden. So what's the problem?
Oh my God. Yeah. I went to a local grocery store chain today and, picked up, which is amazing that they'll bring groceries to you. You get on an app on your phone and you put it in there and they bring them to you at a specific time. But the guy delivering my groceries kind of got right up to my driver's side window. He was in a mask and I started pulling up my mask and he was like, "Oh, no, I don't really care." And I said, I do.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like, it's like, well, we're out. And I'm like, dude, I work with students. I could have been exposed. I've had students with COVID. So like, yeah. It's, like, He's in the middle of a whole new modality of delivering groceries to cars because of a global pandemic. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't really bother me, or that doesn't really matter to me.
I want to throw this out there just to reference this conversation by when you kind of said, we have a special situation in this country. I just want to throw some numbers out there. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. As of a couple hours ago, we in the United States.
So just for reference, because when we listen to this in 7 months, regardless of where we're at, it's November 19th, 2020.
That's correct. We have in this country 1.7 million cases and 252,000 deaths. Okay.
Yep.
And the population of this country is round numbers 330 million people. Okay.
Yep.
Now you may think, I've literally heard people say, "Oh, he's doing great." I'm like, really? Where are you getting that from?
Yeah.
Because here's an interesting statistic. The country of Japan is approximately 1/3 of our population, about 110 million people, give or take a few.
Okay.
They have to date total cases 125,844 cases. And they have deaths of 1,920. That's 1,920 deaths. We have 252,000 deaths. Even if you tripled their deaths toll, it wouldn't even be 6,000.
And okay,
so I just want to throw that out there. If anybody's wondering, like, well, COVID, well, that's why.
And the fire hose of numbers you just threw at me. What's the population of Japan again?
About 110 million. It's roughly 1/3 of the United States, which I don't know if you're familiar with the geography of Japan, but it's really small.
Yes.
Those people are crammed on top of each other so much. It's not like they have space.
Right.
So the question that I ask myself is, what are they doing that we're not?
Well, what are they doing?
They're wearing masks.
They're wearing masks.
They're wearing masks. And why, I think why are they wearing masks?
Because at a fundamental level, culturally, and this is me assuming things that maybe I don't know all the details on, but from what I understand, it's a little more accepted. It's normalized, and it has been for a while because of the probably population density.
Well, and SARS.
Right. They're
kind of used to it.
Right. And so folks in that part of the world see wearing a mask if you're sick as a gesture to care about your community.
Right. That's the deal. It's the attitude of if there's a possibility that my slight inconvenience of putting this piece of fabric over my face will prevent a countryman from getting sick, then that's just what you do. That's just what you do.
And Kirsten and I were talking about this. We went on a walk today outside because it was gorgeous out. And we went on a walk and we said, it's still strange to see masks, right? Like it's still weird. But at the same time, it's like, it's becoming more normal, but it's still like one of those things that it is weird, but I could understand somebody not being willing, and this is me trying to look at something compassionately, like seeing that thing around. You go to the grocery store, you're driving around, I teach, we all teach. I teach acting classes in masks. It's very strange. It's still jarring, and I'm not 100% used to it. But somebody that isn't willing to lean into that adaptation, at least for a small amount of time, it would be very easy for folks. I could see the worst part of myself saying, well, that's oppression, and I don't want to deal with that. Like something that we're afraid of and don't fully understand, all of a sudden we have to villainize. And maybe that's a deep dive on this one, but now that we're talking, I just thought about that.
Well, my brain just snapped. We had some kind of specific things that we were going to address about this, like specifically like when this, like what initially terrified us. Because I remember kind of hearing about like my initial thoughts, like in late February, early March, like that's like the bird flu SARS thing. Like the people in Japan had it and whatever, the Chinese are going to be wearing masks and
Right.
Wing ding doodly doo, whatever, it won't affect us. Sorry, I
Exactly.
apologize for that. I'm like, I'm not going to worry about that. And then it's like, well, we started getting cases in the United States, and the
Yes.
news was kind of along the lines of like, yeah, we're really not sure what to do with this, and it seems to be spreading.
Yes.
And so that was an initial wave of concern. Like, wait a
Yes.
minute, this might actually, this might actually affect me.
Yeah, that's it, is that this is something that I think certain folks in this country have not fully grasped, that this is affecting them. And like small town hospitals are not able to do what they need to do. And, Lincoln hospitals are going to have to start rationing healthcare. It is.
Yep.
And this is, I'm a layman, right? I'm just a dude. I'm not an epidemiologist.
You're a hell of
a
a dude, Joel.
I am a hell of a dude.
You are.
I'm
yes.
just a dude. But so what initially terrified all of us, I mean, I can recall late February, early March, cracking jokes around the office a little bit, not like insensitive jokes, but it was kind of like, I remember a dear colleague of mine procured a large container of antibacterial wipes. And she brought it to me. She's like, here, I grabbed these from the utility closet. Here you go. And I was like, man, I don't think it's going to be that bad, and I remember, Kirsten and I went out of town for her birthday, and that's when the news about United States cases started to ramp up. And I remember I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not supposed to touch surfaces. So I was like elbowing, we were still just breathing everybody's air.
Right.
That was the scary. I think that was initially the scariest thing, is you started watching different news outlets. It was clear as day that nobody knew what this was.
Right.
And nobody knew how to handle it.
That I remember I was, Holly, my wife, and I were talking about, this and kind of discussing what do we do? And we kind of almost immediately went into pretty extreme lockdown, just us personally.
Yeah.
But I remember going to my usual Friday night meeting, would have been middle of March. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I stayed for the meeting, but I haven't been to a meeting since then, like in person. Yeah. I haven't been in a room full of people that I didn't have to be around since the middle of March. Partly, forgive me, but I don't exactly have a lot of faith in our leadership on this one.
What?
I know.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Our president currently cares more about, trying to overthrow the government so he doesn't have to go to prison than he is about thousands of people dying.
Right.
So,
and cannot accept the fact that perhaps the democratic system doesn't work for his benefit.
What?
I know.
Well, anyway, that's another topic.
That's another topic.
But that's, I mean, really, like that initial thing of like, this could actually get not quite end of a Stephen King novel bad, but it could get bad.
Yeah, I thought of The Stand.
And yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's where I went. I'm like, it's probably not going to be that bad because we're not dead now. But but this could get ugly.
Yes.
And I think and this is going to sound very petty, maybe, but the toilet paper thing.
Yeah.
When Costco was out of toilet paper, like that's when it got real for me.
Really?
And then of course. And and this is kind of funny. I immediately got on Amazon and just tried to find toilet paper, and I bought this gigantic box of the worst toilet paper ever.
Nice.
It's like the stuff.
Was that the brand?
Yeah,
worst. It was just white with black letters.
Toilet bath tissue.
Yeah, it's bad when it's called bath tissue.
But here's we still have it, and we call it in my house. We call it the even my kids, they call it the end of the world toilet paper.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah,
that's what my 11-year-old calls it.
Yeah, I recall that. I remember texting with my parents, and they're like, we have rolls if you need some, just let us know. And they dropped some off, and it was like this. And I put a pin in the whole meeting thing and locking down but that was one of the things that Kirsten and I started talking about. We're like, what is it about and perhaps it's just an American thing, but it's like, what about we grasp what's the lowest common denominator of our disconnection from our own sort of wildness, the fact that we wipe our ass with paper and flush it down a toilet. So like everybody freaked out because they're like, I whatever happens, I can't lose that. Like whatever happens,
right.
that was the interesting sort of like social experience. Like whatever happens in the end of the world, as long as I can wipe my own ass with paper and throw it away.
Not
then I
just
don't
paper,
care.
but comfortable paper.
Bath tissue.
Bath tissue, yes. That's
So
important.
anyway, back to the, because I recall going to a Tuesday night meeting after we got back from celebrating Kirsten's birthday. And so it was, March, somewhere in the, I don't know, March 10th. It was before Lincoln sort of shut down, like all of the 100%.
Right.
And I remember people going to shake the hands in the line. And I was like, I did my awkward prayer hands thing and they looked at me strange. And then I did that when, it was time to like hold hands and say stuff. And I was like, no. And they looked at me like I was nuts. And I'm like, no, the people are saying don't shake the hands. Like that's how we all believe this thing was going down. And then I remember talking to you.
Yeah.
And I remember you, and I love you, but I also know that like I'm gonna call you out, but like you have some paranoid tendencies. Am I wrong?
It's not paranoia if they're actually after you, Joel.
Exactly. And here's the thing about that. When I called you and you're like, I'm shutting down for a year, I'll never forget that because it was, mid-March. And you're like, I'm prepared to live this way for a year plus. And I was like, that's the most sane thing I've heard.
Thank you.
Because here's the thing, not because I understood all the science of it or how something like long like this would last, something like this would last. But I was like, if Steve's got a finger on the pulse of what a global emergency would be like, that's a reasonable sort of thing to sort of wrap your mind around. And honestly, dude, I think that's helped me fight the pandemic fatigue.
Oh, right.
Because I don't know
that's real. Well, Joel, I'm just tired of this and I want to go do things. I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of it.
I'm just tired of it. And I want to go out to eat.
I want to go to Applebee's.
I want my
boneless wings.
Joel, I want my hugs. I want my hugs.
Oh man. And we're on the cusp of like what will probably be, unfortunately, an uptick in the already large surge of people saying, but I gotta have Thanksgiving. And like Thanksgiving is a huge thing in one side of my family. And I've had to turn that down and it breaks my heart. But at the same time, it's like, can we all just hunker down? You know, can we all just hunker down?
Can we all just realize, just take into consideration for a second that we're in the middle of a global fucking pandemic?
Right. And we don't want it to be a global extinction event.
Right. It won't be.
I don't think it will be either.
But I also don't want my parents to get sick.
I don't want that. Dude, that's the thing. When I had to say no to a few gatherings, I had to say no to a Thanksgiving gathering. And I was like, I don't want to be the one to bring the death cough to my parents.
I know actually 2 people who think that they've done that currently.
And how does that feel? Like how does that feel?
Not great.
That's gotta suck.
Yep.
So I also want to talk and just be completely vulnerable. I have sort of general anxiety, right?
Yes.
I live with that. I have accepted that. And I think that'll be a really interesting journey to talk about if we ever talk about meditation practice.
Sure.
But it was early on, and it was probably the night of my first Zoom meeting, Zoom experience. In my car with Kirsten. And we were in the parking lot and we were going to go into Super Saver to get, provisions. Right. And, I remember being in there and I remember, it was pre-mask mandate stuff. And I was just walking around looking at and terrified of every person I ran into and, oh my God, what's going on? And then I started judging I worked myself into a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I was standing in the transverse aisle of Super Saver, frozen. And Kirsten was like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I am not okay. we need to wrap this up. I need to get out of here. I am terrified. I am
Mm-hmm.
stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a real big, I think up until then, I don't know. It was like, it made me real when I saw everybody kind of looking at each other sideways, and we were all like, do you have the thing?
Right.
I don't have the thing.
Right.
Why is there no toilet paper? What do we need to buy? And we
Right.
were picking up groceries for our parents because there was like a rumor, it was like the state patrol that I know that I used to go to high school with said that everything's going to be shut down and it's going to be martial law. So we like took orders from our parents and delivered them.
Right.
I mean, it was like it all became the singularity in that moment. And it was that I had to work through a lot of anxiety. And that's when Kirsten and I kind of hit the brakes on the news, and I told her I don't want to hear the numbers every 6 hours, and we started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer to sort of
Good
calm down.
plan.
You know what I mean? Like we're like, all right.
We went full Peaky Blinders, but okay.
But I mean, that's a whole other thing. We look to the artists to sort of get us through gnarly times. But my world got small. Like I don't. Well, here you want to talk about what did we learn? What have you learned? What did you learn in that early pandemic?
Here's what really the silver lining for us as a family unit during this time is that we slowed the fuck down.
Yeah.
And all the activities came to a screeching halt because our schedule prior to that, like my family schedule, was get up, get the kids ready to school, get the kids to school. I go to work, come home. One of us makes dinner, get the kids off to an activity 4 out of 7 nights a week.
Right.
And then we come home, get the kids in bed. My wife and I hang out for a half hour, then we crash because we're exhausted.
Yeah.
And we just did that, and it wasn't terrible, but I mean, to just put the brakes on all that, because there was no dance, there was no volleyball, there was no nothing, and we didn't go anywhere. I had to go to work, but that was it. And because there was no school got shut down.
Right.
And so it was really this. For some reason, I now have Crosby, Stills, and Nash singing in my head. Got to get back to the garden. Like that's that's really. And it was really like, oh, and we just we really reconnected, like, oh, and spent a lot of time together. And frankly,
it was good, right?
It was fantastic. Yeah. My wife and I like reconnected in a way that we hadn't for years because of small children and busy and work and school. And, we've both been working jobs and going to school and raising small children. I mean, it's just nonstop,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for all that, just to come to a screeching halt was frankly delightful.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that I've talked to people here and there, and there was a little bit of like, I felt I was enjoying it because Kirsten and I was like insanely grateful for my small little house. I was insanely grateful for my wife and just getting to have that person. I was like, if I had to do this by myself, and I'm sure there's people listening that did, if I had to do this by myself, it would have been Panic City every day. But Kirsten and I were like we made a commitment to like go on walks and get outside every day. And we started riding our bikes again, and I've ridden more in this summer into fall than I think I did when I was a kid.
Right.
And we made an intention to cook more. Obviously we couldn't go out, like we got takeout here and there, but like and I felt guilty for enjoying that. There was a part of me that was like, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm enjoying a global pandemic. It was one of those things, and this is I think I probably saw this in a meme, but it was like, this time is about being grateful for what you have, not like bustling to get more. This is an opportunity for us to say, be grateful. Look around, like you and I and Aaron started that gratitude chat.
List. Yeah, maybe we got to keep that going.
Yeah, we've let that go. Sorry, Aaron. But yeah, like I just remember, sitting, was still meditating still. And when I come out of meditation, I'd been like, I am insanely grateful for this house. Like, whereas it's easy in that craziness to be like, maybe we should get more. Maybe we should buy something else. Maybe we should have more. And it's like, I was instantly grateful. And now
I can tell you that I've committed a lot of Amazon in the last 9 months. Just saying.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
there's that. But
There's that.
but I had to be fair, a lot of that was for the chickens.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the chickens.
Sure.
I didn't even put that in the Google sheet. Like the chickens.
Well, it's kind of another podcast probably, but yes, in April, my family, we got 3 hens, 3 baby chicks that fortunately turned out to be hens because we can't have roosters in the city. But we got them. I kind of want.
I've got a neighbor that's got a rooster and it crows and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's anyway. We love the chickens. We got them I've wanted kind of half jokingly to get some for years, and just kind of the momentum just built. It's like, why wouldn't we get chickens right now? So I did.
Right.
And they were great because we needed something to kind of divert the girls' attention.
Yeah.
My kids, and to give them something to do and some kind of a pet project.
Right.
And they're great little, it's like having a dinosaur exhibit in my backyard, living dinosaur.
Let me anybody that's listening that doesn't know, Steve loves his chickens.
I truly do. I love having the chickens, and I love the chickens.
We get photos of the chickens. Yep. We got, step by step of the chicken.
My relationship with them has changed a lot in the last 9 months.
It's evolved.
It has evolved because now those beaks are sharp, and and their claws are sharp, right. And they are not afraid to use them. So you have to respect them. Now, yes. They're not the little cute peep things that you can hold in your hand anymore. Right. Like, they'll cut you.
Yeah,
they are dinosaurs. But I love them. They're fantastic.
What have they taught you, Steve?
They've taught me to be where your beak is.
Be where your beak is.
Well, I mean, seriously, like they're not living in the past or the future. They're living right now. They're living right now. And here's the darndest thing. The first time I watched them put themselves to bed in the coop, like when the sun reached a certain place in the sky, they just looked up and went, "Oh, time for bed," and went in.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, like, how's that work? How does that?
How do I train the chicken?
Yeah. That's another thing. Every single thing that I've worried about with them, like, well, how's this going to work? And how's that, because I went into it completely unprepared. They just do. They just know. Instinct. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. You can't tell me this is a thing. You want to know what I've learned? You cannot tell me that there isn't order in the universe, because I've watched it happen with these damn birds.
I love it.
They just
it's so great.
The sun goes down, they go in. No matter where they are on the yard, they can be, and they'll just look up like, oh, sun's out, and they just literally single file, boop, right into the coop. And that's it.
Is it? And they're animals, obviously, and they're in the now. They're totally connected to their instinctual needs at all times.
Yep.
And well, I mean, here's the thing.
And that's because they're social. There is a pecking order. Like it's just the darndest thing.
They're not navel gazing about their own existence. They're just existing.
No, they're not. No, they like to be comfortable. They take spas. Like they love. If you've never seen a chicken,
do you give your chicken a massage?
No, I don't. But if you've never seen a chicken take a dirt bath, look it up on YouTube because it's fantastic. They literally will they will take themselves to a spa. It's like they treat themselves to a spa in whatever dirt they can find. It cleans them.
This is we are learning so much about how to just be. Just be.
Well, that's what the chickens have taught me.
Just
like
be,
seriously. Yeah, that's why that's what they've taught me. It's like just be.
And I can say just from the way you talk about them, like, and the photos we get, it's like you're working to punch the clock to leave to go sit in the backyard and put a chicken on your chest.
I tell you what, they get on me, but I don't have to put them on.
I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Right. Well, but I genuinely, it's nice to see my family and stuff, but like the chickens, I like to see them more. I'm kidding.
Well,
but it is, it's like a meditation. It's
for sure, because they're teaching you, like you said, they're kind of always in the moment, and they're teaching you to do that. And what a beautiful distraction while the world is on fire.
100%. There's definitely, you're watching The Sopranos. There's definitely a Tony Soprano and his ducks element here.
Oh my God. I think you've made that reference, and I probably did the thing where I was like, oh yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. And I didn't know what you're talking about.
Now you do.
Yes. But he would just like the joy of the ducks in his pool. Like, a free thing that's
I-
just being. It doesn't have people to kill.
No, it doesn't have people to kill. No. Mm-mm. Yeah. Like I definitely, I stand out there with the chickens and I picture myself as Tony Soprano in his bathrobe.
Another thing that I saw that was really cool for you that you started doing was that every Saturday night you turned on the Dead and Company was putting on, they were putting up shows and you like played poker with your daughters.
Yeah. We had family poker night. It was
That's
great.
Amazing.
It was great.
Put on the Dead,
play
some cards
and play poker, like legit poker.
Did you ever get your clock cleaned by them or
100%? Yeah. Yep.
I got
to watch the 11-year-old clean Holly's clock once.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And then here was the other lesson is that, it was one of those deals where they both had great hands. Had great hands, one was just a little bit better. And then like the next hand or very shortly thereafter, Holly cleaned her clock.
Just passing money around.
Well, but I mean, 11-year-old had that moment of like, oh my God, that was amazing. And then the agony of defeat. Like, that's how it goes, kiddo. Like, welcome to life.
She wasn't like waking you up at midnight to play cards or anything. We don't have
just
a
once.
Future.
We had to have a talk.
Yeah.
Dad. Hey.
We need. Let's get a game. Let's do some high low in between real quick, just to put me to sleep.
That's the voice of experience.
One of the things that really, like, my investment, like you bought chickens in a chicken coop. I bought a pretty nice new bicycle. We rode a few times, but like it was like time for a new bike. And I have fallen more in love with Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yep.
Seeing most of it on my bicycle now.
Yep.
And the other thing, and shout out to my bike gang, there was a little enclave. Is that the right word? A little cabal, a group, a gang of people that were like, let's ride bikes. And that seemed, and think still is, a safe thing to do with a few people. And we have a spot that we meet at, and we have a text thread, and we just like jump on. Then it's like, hey, Kirsten and I are going on a ride at 6. Anybody want to join? And then people would come, and we checked out new trails and put a lot of miles on the bike. And it was so therapeutic because it's like the act of riding a bicycle is be here right now. You have something instinctual with your body that's trying to keep that balance and ride.
Well, and you're traveling kind of at a pretty good rate of speed on a thing that isn't going to offer you a lot of protection if something goes south.
So you've got to be present.
Pay attention. Yep. You have to be present. But you can also zone out while being present. It's meditative.
It totally is. It gives your body something to do. It allows your mind to rest on something so that you can tap into the other stuff, tap into the divine, your consciousness, whatever it is. And I do have to say, I showed up to that bike gang with a lot of anxiety and pissed off and scared, or just like,
you always felt better afterwards, didn't you?
I always felt better. I always felt more connected. I felt like I had a group of people, that we could safely give a shit about each other in person. You know what I mean? Like,
that's amazing.
The Zoom meetings are great, and it's great to like have that and have that connection. We were FaceTiming with more family, but just that, like, that band of people that were doing a thing and going on an adventure. I was talking to my old college roommate, and he'd be fun to talk to, but he came down, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. He came down, we rode a little bit together, and he rides a lot more, but I told him, I was like, it riding around on a summer night with my friends, it feels like I'm a kid again.
100%.
Like I had a real childish, pure child experience of like, Joel, you can still have fun. The world is burning and you can still have a good time. And that was like, seriously, probably one of the most therapeutic things I did throughout this whole time. And
I think that's so important. Totally. I remember in summer 2018, prior to all this, but I went, me and our mutual friend Matt and Jack, we went up to Wisconsin to see some concerts, and Matt had never been on that kind of trip before, right?
Right.
And it just so happened the day of the second show. So we've been there a day in this little town we were staying in was like its annual town fest.
Right.
Right. So we're walking up and down the main street and there's vendors and music. It's really delightful for being completely unplanned. It's like, wow, this is so nice. Cause it really was.
Yeah.
Beautiful day, Wisconsin. It was pretty. Cheese
Yeah.
curds everywhere. It was fantastic. And I remember Matt.
I just see cheese curds raining from the sky.
Kind of was.
Put out a bucket.
Fantastic, don't you know? And you betcha. But Matt looked, we were just looking at something in the stall, and Matt looked at me and he paused and he said, "Don't you feel a little bit guilty?"
Ah.
And I said, "For what?" He said, "For just being here."
Wow.
Like, shouldn't we be doing something serious? Because we've been talking about like the injustices of the world,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Matt, you have to recharge yourself.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you have to take that time. Like,
Yeah.
spending 72 hours going to 2 concerts is not like, that's not egregious. It's not.
No, it's not
overkill.
gonna derail your career. It's
or
not
your ambitions to achieve social justice. So you have to
Yes.
take some time to
Yes.
regroup for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And better to do it over the course of a weekend or a long weekend than, check out for 5 years.
It's and it's better to do that with, the wild horde of Grateful Dead fans.
100%.
You know what I mean? Where kind of anything goes.
It's a concentrated dose.
Exactly.
Pun
Yeah.
partially intended.
I love it. And so, yeah, we, but pinpointing ways to do that over the last almost, 8 months now
Mhm.
has been, for me, it's been cooking, and I went meatless about a year and plus months ago.
Vegmo.
Yeah. And so being intentional about what I'm putting in my body, and
That's
and,
intense.
and
That's another
and
podcast.
that's another podcast. But yeah, so like finding those things to like that, it's like it's like cultivating joy. You have to,
You have to put effort into that.
and because you can't just like do the things. I was talking to our mutual friend Kemper recently, and he was saying it's like the thing that sucks right now is that we don't have a lot to look forward to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But just like the chickens or riding a bike,
Or making a podcast with your friend.
precisely. Like how can you harvest the joy right now? What can you do right now? Because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Right.
And we don't have concerts or movies or events or Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas gifts with family to really look forward to. How do you cultivate the joy right now? And I think that's one of the biggest lessons. Well, see, the dark side of what this topic is. No, but that's real. The dark side of this topic is that I had a guy that I was helping, overdose
Right.
early on in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard gnarly stories of, and this is all to say we're not discounting the fact that we led with the numbers. The numbers are bad and people are dying from this disease.
Yes.
But it's a real thing that kills people. And if our elected officials don't do anything, more people die. That's just the fact. But I think what this is also teaching us is how to cultivate joy now, but also how to be aware of things now. I mean, I participated in actual protest this summer.
Yep.
I've been to rallies before that had a permit and a time to end, and and like an approved amount of people.
Right.
I broke curfew this, I participated in civil disobedience.
Good for you.
Because I knew it was the right thing to do, because I wanted to be a part of it. And as a white person, I wanted to be there to protect Black bodies that were obviously at being targeted. And it was clearly, it was clear. And so, I had a meditation moment too. This was a big deal, was when I was standing, with protesters arm in arm with them. We all had our masks on. We were not rioters. Don't email us. We were there, and I was like, I'm going to meditate even here. And we were all chanting, "I can't breathe."
Mm-hmm.
And like the connection of what happened to George Floyd, and also just the explosion of awareness of folks that are targeted. And also the fact that this disease we're all dealing with is a respiratory illness, and we're but breath is also meditation. I haven't quite put all of those dots together, but there's some Kirsten.
That's a thing.
Kirsten brought that up to me. She's like, Joel, look at this. And it's like, I don't know what it means, but there's just been,
well, and like
been significant
wildfires in California.
Correct.
Can't
and
breathe in that.
There you literally, it's like smoke billowing all around you. And I've been in a California wildfire, but to see the photos that went on the last few months there, it was insanely scary and dark and bad. I mean, it's just been like, we've been through a lot as a nation, as a human race right now.
I so very badly want to make a devil's advocate smart ass comment, and I'm just not going to.
Okay.
Something along the lines of, well, Joel, doesn't California kind of deserve it?
Well, that's the thing. Like, people say shit like that.
I know. It's
victim blaming.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Anyway, it's been a lot. And I don't know.
So
yes, go.
What have we let go of?
Oh, fuck.
In the middle of this?
Well, okay. So I saw that question. I was like, okay, yeah. What have I let go of? But also, what have I had ripped from my clutches? Like Pearl Jam concerts and Dead shows.
Yeah.
And
my wife and I were going to go see the Dead in Boulder in July.
Right.
It was going to be our first date, like extended thing away from everything and everybody.
Yeah.
In like 13 years.
Yeah.
And it got kiboshed,
But okay, so let me ask you this though. The obviously the fun of that event would have been amazing and the experience would have been amazing. But what you were really after was an intentional connection with her.
Yes, 100%.
You feel like you've because of all this shit got that anyway?
In smaller doses, yes.
Yeah.
But it's been good. But it's also been there's been this cloud hanging over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of put a damper on that because we're still like, I mean, I love my kids, but I'd like to get away from them with my wife for a few days.
Yeah, that's real.
You know what I'm saying? And
I don't know what that's like. I don't have kids.
That's just not going to happen,
Right.
And so that's been it's just been an adjustment, and an acceptance. Like I've had to let go of wanting to do that because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I've had to early on, like when because I was going to go see my favorite band Pearl Jam by myself. I had a single ticket. I may or may not have semi-stalked the guys from Single Podcast Theory, and I kind of knew where their seats were. I'm friends with them on Facebook, and I knew where their seats were for the St. Louis show, and I was going to go buy them a drink and give them a high five and say, cool. You know what I mean? Like I was going to
really nice.
I was looking forward to just doing, like, I got an Airbnb. I'm just going to have a date with my favorite band. Like that's how I saw it.
Yeah, right. Of course.
And after that went down and like some more things got canceled, the tour got, and I learned early on that like I have to let go of any certainty of what the future brings. And it's just been a constant reminder of that. And every time that pings my gut, and I'm sure people out there understand, it's like, oh yeah, this is still happening.
Still happening.
And my happiness connected to that letting go is totally on me.
Yep.
And I think some people
it's a choice. It's a choice.
And I think some people are like, well, it's, so-and-so's fault or some country's fault. And it's like, they want to blame, but it's like your discomfort for clutching on to the things that you think are going to make you happy. That's the thing that's making you suffer.
Yes.
You're just, I can't let go.
Not let go of it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, you said we were riding bikes actually, when I was asking about this thing about impermanence, and you said, well, when you look at a river, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was like if you look at a river, you're never looking at the same river twice.
Right.
That's impermanence. And I was like, mine, I had to stop the bike for a second, kind of, okay, all right.
Yeah. Cause that's been
just letting that, like my wanting to go do the thing with my wife in Colorado, just let that float down the river.
Yes.
Let it float down the river. Yes. And we still, we're still here. It's like, oh, this, okay. Well, now that I've kind of let that float down, it's like, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm
And
okay.
that's the thing.
Disappointed maybe, but okay.
I spent a lot of time being raised in thinking that, the idea of death or things ending meant that you should have a tally sheet to get to the good thing, right? That you get to go to the country club in the sky or whatever. But I
I
was
don't
always
want to go there.
I don't either.
No.
But if everybody's not allowed, I don't want to be there. So like,
Right,
but like
right.
the idea of impermanence and how freeing that is. And this is, I am a dime store Buddhist, I guess, but the idea of like really, really allowing that to be the thing that you focus on, that you accept, it gets you to the it gets you to the chicken state, Steve. It gets you to that being here now. Like if we don't
Yeah.
appreciate what we have moment to moment, if it's always about, if everything I'm doing is trying to anesthetize myself from the fact that this will end, whether that be my
and then
life,
we'll get back to normal.
that, oh yeah, that
Like
phrase,
that's done. That train has left. That ain't a
Yes.
thing.
and it
never was.
It never was.
Yeah.
And I think something you said last time was like you refuse to accept the reality that is prescribed to you.
Mhm.
I mean, that's part of it. It's like you've got to be able to see the simulation sometimes.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to see the exit door.
Right.
And when you see the exit door in the movie theater, the movie isn't so scary.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know, that's the idea that was really slapped on me. It's like, well, we got to get back to normal. It's like, no, there's no, like, we didn't get back to normal after 9/11. We've never gotten back. Like the universe, all it wants to do is expand anyway.
That's all it's doing.
Right. Like you sit outside and you just
It-
because the river of trees blossoming and dying is slower. We don't notice it. We call it
Mhm.
seasons, or
Mhm.
our lives are
Mhm.
these long things that we don't really recognize how fast they go. It's like,
Blink of an eye, buddy.
yeah, it's all a river anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all, if you really sit and think about the idea of that impermanence, it's all a river anyway. It's all moving, it's all ending, it's all beginning at the same time. And the point to meditation for me is to breathe here anyway, and to cultivate joy here anyway.
Hey, Joel, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Have you moved beyond death?
Have I moved beyond death?
Have you moved beyond sickness?
No.
Yeah. That's just
No, I
something that
haven't.
came up in one of the meditations I was reading about.
Oh.
It's like that idea of like, it's just one of the things you kind of repeat is like, I have not moved beyond death. Like my physical being
Yeah.
will expire.
Yes.
And to just
Yeah.
kind of grok on that for a while.
Yes.
Like that's a thing that's going to happen.
And as it relates to a global pandemic, I think there are people that are accepting it and realizing that what they can do is relieve suffering for others by taking precautions and following certain guidelines and taking care of themselves and distancing, all of those things.
Yep.
And then there's a large group of people that sort of don't want to accept that, and they're not idiots. There are people that have a hard time with letting go of that, go of the normal and the way things are, so that I can continue to stay in the simulation that I want. I don't like the simulation as it's changed, and I'm going to do everything to just sort of deny the inevitable.
Well, I think there's a pretty substantial portion of our population where denial is a pretty major thing.
Yeah.
We have to just keep doubling down. We have to keep doubling down, because to not do so would be admitting that we were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It would be admitting defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that's going to happen. That's absolutely not. It's not going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate, because as you and I have experienced,
Mm-hmm.
The surest way to like win is to surrender.
Mm-hmm. Well, and surrender looks different. Surrender looks different because it's like surrender. Yeah, surrender to me is like, in this context, is saying I'm already dead. Like I'm already dead.
Sure.
There's
I know you don't mean that in like a morbid sense.
No,
that's not what it's about.
No, this body that I'm currently occupying, this meat
meat bag.
meat
Right.
bag with it's like we're just ghosts driving meat sacks around for 80 plus years, maybe. That's all that's happening.
Maybe. Yeah.
But this particular machine that I'm in is amazing,
Sure.
but it doesn't last forever, and it's already gone.
We're all made of stardust.
I gotta give a shout out to my brother because
Hey,
Colin introduced me to the Dharma, and I would give him shit for a while until I actually started practicing it. And I remember it was probably the first sort of pandemic thing I bought myself online. It was a really, really great, like beautiful sort of impermanence mala with skulls on it. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I took a photo of it and I sent it to him, and this jack off, he's like, well, picture it in beads on the floor and picture it already broken. Right. And I was like, you jerk.
But he wasn't. He wasn't. He was right.
Yes, because here's the thing. Like, there's a story about the amongst favorite teacup, and his teacher said, look at the teacup's already broken. So that's how you appreciate the teacup. The necklace is already I'm already dead. And if I and that's, I mean, I guess to focus it back on the name of this podcast, how do I be better? It's like, this is like, we all need to, there's a lot of waking up that I think needs to happen, and a lot of like being with ourselves and clutching the people around us, not our ideas of what should be normal, and loving who we can love around us, and careful to our community, and and being nice to the guy who's like, I don't really care about masks at the grocery store. You know what I mean? Just being compassionate. I
had a thing at work a couple months ago. I told you about this, where a guy, he's like, well, I don't want to worry about it. It's going to be over. It's going to be over after the election.
Yeah. It's not
and
over, is it?
I had a moment where I was like, it was like in Blazing Saddles, he's like, nah, baby, I got to. And I'm like, oh, really? Would you care to expand on that statement a little bit? And it did. I mean, it did not go well, because I just started. I mean, it ended up with him just saying, I'm saying with me, I mean, I work at a hospital.
Right.
Like, well, those doctors are just making stuff up. I'm like, oh, really? You think we ought to go down the hall and ask our doctors if they're making stuff up? You think we ought to go have that conversation right now? He's like, well, Fauci changes his mind. I said, that's because that's what scientists and mature adults do when they're presented with new information. They change their mind.
Yes, because science changes.
You're saying that your intrinsic God-given knowledge is greater about this than a man who has served 6 presidents on both sides of the aisle, to spend his entire life studying this sort of thing. You're saying you know more about this than he does. And he looked me in the eye and he said, yes.
Because I researched it on YouTube's.
Because no, his answer was, I said, how do you think that? He said, I just know. And then he left.
I just know.
That was his response. That was all completely 100% A, that conversation happened, and B, he meant it.
Well, because it's like I checked in with what I want, and I checked in with my feelings, and therefore I know.
Right. And so that happened at work.
That's insane, man.
Well, that's what I thought. And we're cool. But see, here's the thing. Like, I work with the guy. In fact, we're peers now. We have to get along. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, is that he's a good guy.
Of course.
He's a good father. He loves his wife. He does a great job at his job.
Right.
And he's like, I depend on him. He depends on me. And I had to go to him later and say, hey man, I got heated the other day.
Right.
I got loud and I got aggressive, and that was uncalled for in a work setting.
Right.
And
that's the thing that I think we all need to remember. And this is not like, let's all be kumbaya and we all need to listen to each other. No. What it is there is something really, really important and guiding about being able to say, what we all want is peace and ease and happiness, and to be free from, stress.
May we all be safe. May we all be happy.
We all
live in ease.
Everybody that you see yelling in any, from the Black Lives Matter protests that I was that I witnessed, to
Mhm.
people, you know, getting their AR-15s out to go to Applebee's. That's all we want. That's what we all want.
That's true.
And it's so fucking hard for me
Right.
to do that.
Right.
Because I it's just hard, and that's where I need to get better, is that I take out my big paintbrush and I you know, that particular demographic of person is completely idiotic, and I'm better than them, and they don't want the same things I want. I want pure good things, and they're ruining it for me. And but the same story could be said on a bunch of sides.
Right.
And I think you've said this before, and this relates to the whole pandemic experience, but you said, I remember we were talking about, like, when does the system crash? When do people take arms and all this? And I can recall you saying several times, when you can't watch Friends on TV, when you
No,
can't.
it's when you can't watch the NFL and you can't go to Applebee's.
Well, guess what we got this summer was like
Right.
crap. I mean, we didn't have basketball, baseball for a while, and
When
everybody.
those two things happen for real,
Yeah,
that's when America will go, well, wait a minute.
I think we got a taste of that.
Yeah. We
Even though
bumped
the,
up
like,
against it, that's for sure.
we definitely got a taste of, like, okay, well, I can't go get, you know, some jalapeno poppers and a Bud Light, and I can't go to the, you know, I had season tickets to the Knicks, and I can't go see them. And it's like,
nope.
we all kind of sat and said, we got a glimpse. I
Yep.
hope we don't actually have to have all of those things go away in order for us to listen.
Well,
like,
Joel, 250,000 deaths hasn't done it.
It has not done it.
Has not
That's
done
like,
it. Hey,
like
just like school shootings hasn't done it.
Nope. It sure hasn't. I mean,
seriously.
I know.
Many, I think, just like I think, you know, to paraphrase Bob Dylan, how many school kids have to get shot before they know it's too many?
Yeah, but, you know, man, you can't take away, you know, I need these AR-15s to shoot, you know,
I know, to shoot kids.
And yeah. I mean, that's a whole other deal.
Yep.
But, like,
I'm just saying.
I think there's something intrinsic about that we've interpreted what we're owed as, you know what I mean? That we've interpreted what we're owed from our literature that was written when there were 13 colonies, and, you know, we didn't have AR-15s. We had muskets that took, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying we need to revise everything. I think that the problem is we can't contextualize things, and we don't accept some of us have a hard time accepting actual data, in a way, or like that you can't see what's happening right in front of you, and you're not willing to change what you want in order to help the common good. And until that happens, we're still going to have clutching to, you know, what we want all the time. I don't know. I think in terms of the whole pandemic thing, that's what I've learned a lot about what to let go of and how to see things differently. But I've been more engaged in, well, obviously the last 4 years, but I've been more engaged in having the willingness to see, you know, leaders for what they are and rules for what they are, and see, you know, what experts to listen to. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's maybe crept into my brain a little bit more than before. Sure. Where do we go from here, man?
For me, it all comes back to the lesson of all of this time has been getting back to the thing of all I can actually control is the things like my thoughts, which will become my actions. And that's it. Yeah, like, man. That's it. And to, you know, try to take part in the democratic process. I was a block captain of the selection, which I did as good as I could do it. I probably could have done a better job of that, but I sort of showed up, and I wrote a ton of postcards and made some phone calls, and that was interesting. And I felt like I was like that. I was engaged in the process.
Yeah.
Rather than standing off on the sidelines saying, "No, this is bullshit." You know, like because I'm definitely guilty of that.
Sure.
And I wanted to be better this time around. You know what I'm saying? I engage
with, you know, with like student loan being on, you know, pause for a while. I gave more to causes. I gave resources to local causes and candidates that I supported. And I called our representatives a lot more in the last 8 months.
Did you get your form letters?
What's that?
Did you get your form letters from them? Saying how they valued your input?
What a shit show. My favorite thing is to see how many times I say the word bootlicker in a call to one of our senators. That's like, I could make that my own little game. Like, how many, just ask the staffer, like, did you count how many times I said fascist or bootlicker?
Right.
But I don't know, man. I think we're adapting anyway. And I think that, there's hopeful stuff with the vaccine. There's hopeful stuff with maybe a change in, leadership that, there's a possibility of a president that says actual human words for a while that can actually do something. Maybe, I don't know if is the goose cooked. What do you think?
Which goose?
The COVID goose.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm cautiously optimistic about the vaccine news. There's two companies that seem to think they have a good one, and they're actual pharmaceutical companies that have like an established track record. They're not,
they're not somebody.
They're not Joe Bob's Vaccine Emporium, brought to you by Jared Kushner.
That was so great early. I mean, I got actual family members sending me YouTube videos of some nurse PA or something at what are those like walk-in clinics and Bakers? Yeah, and Bakersfield sending me, this is all a hoax. Like these people, they put a white coat on and they have a YouTube channel. All of a sudden they're the experts on
Anthony Fauci.
Good Lord.
Right.
I mean, if that misinformation stuff can get if we can help each other actually experience real truth again, we've got a lot of we have all.
That's another podcast, Joel, because that's getting harder.
The death of truth. Yeah, man. Maybe they're going to make a deep fake of this podcast someday where they take our words and twist them around to some fascist agenda.
Totally. Joel, you and I could do that with the technology we're doing this over right now.
Wild. I know, dude.
We could put different faces on each other. We could literally.
I know. I bet that's what Matt's going to cook up next time.
Well, we'll find out, hopefully.
Yeah. Matt's just going to start making deep fakes of it. I shouldn't have even said that. I bet he's going to totally do that.
I'm just waiting I'm waiting to start getting trolled, frankly.
Yeah, dude, let's get it. I'd love a troll.
I'm waiting to start getting trolled,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else can we say about this and what else needs to be said? I mean, I think
it's
going to be a part of our on.
The last thing was, how have we adapted? And I think we've kind of covered it. I mean, the biggest thing one of the things that I did was the moment I realized like they're going to start shutting down public meeting places as I started spinning up Zoom AA meetings.
Yeah, man.
I knew how to do it. I mean, it's not hard, but
right.
Like I got a Zoom account and I started spinning up Zoom AA right away.
Yeah, dude.
I started emailing people like, hey, I'm starting the Zoom meeting.
Right.
And then those meetings still exist and there's a lot more of them now. And obviously there's meetings nationwide, worldwide now, and became a thing very quickly. And I know they've always kind of existed. I mean, there used to be, chat AA meetings in the 90s, right. But I mean, like,
that's wild.
But I immediately realized, and it was kind of selfish just because like I don't need my hug. I need my meeting. I need my, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, here's the thing is, and also with that, the novelty was fun for a while and then it sucked. And now it's just the thing.
Just what we do.
The Zoom. I mean, I found that in my work. I found that having students on Zoom and I called a meeting with a colleague to talk about a project for the spring. It was like, I wasn't just doing the goofy stare, like this conversation feels very normal now.
Normal. Yeah.
A year ago, this would have been like us goofing around.
Right. Right.
Is
this thing on?
Right. The adaptation is humans can adapt. That's a cool thing. Was that most of us adapted pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us still want to go to Applebee's. for the appetizer platter.
Right.
I think that over the longevity of the conversations you and I have and with our guests, it's part of how we're going to adapt. I mean, this is purely this is just a beautiful way to have a conversation with you.
Yep.
And to chat with people and get curious. So, this is adaptation
100%
as it's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, did we do it?
Yeah, dude. I think that we should when we do guests though. I want to ask you this, and we'll end on this conversation. I'm totally springing this on you. You have no idea.
Hit me.
What are you listening to right now?
Oh,
what
am I listening to?
What are you consuming? Is it a book?
I'm on the Spotify. I'm listening to some Howlin' Wolf.
Nice.
I'm getting down with the old Howlin' Wolf stuff, and it's been really great actually.
Nice.
Yeah, you?
Pussifer.
Oh wow. Okay, all right.
So I'm a big Tool fan, and I was a big Perfect Circle fan, and my buddy Andrew turned me on to Pussifer, and it's Maynard James Keenan's, but his sort of wild creativity and I don't give a fuck attitude with that band.
Mm-hmm.
Their music is amazing. I just kind of always got sidetracked by their cover art and stuff. I thought it was a little hokey,
right?
But their music is amazing, so I'm kind of obsessed with Pussifer right now.
All right. That's legit.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
we did it. We did it.
You think next time maybe we'll have a guest?
I think we should have a guest. We'll shut this recording down and we'll figure out a guest and see who that could be.
All right. Remember, we're on the Apple podcast box and the Spotify.
The magic screen box of Apple Podcast website. And I'm going to get on a Facebook post in the chat room
on the Facebook. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and give us stars and write a poem to us. We're on Instagram. Follow us there. We're on Spotify and all the other places as they pop up. You can listen however you want, but connect with us on Instagram for now. If I get a wild hair, I might make a Facebook page.
If you're a Luddite and want to do email to reach us, it's ttbbpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh my God, please send us fan mail.
That'd be great.
Yep. Ask us questions if you have topics you think. Yeah, please. We want to hear from you. So thank you all for listening and keeping us interested in our own lives. We love you.
That's right. Love you too. All right.
All right.
Love everybody. Yeah, love. Bye.
Love. Bye.
Love. Bye.